All right. Good morning. Welcome. It is Sunday. This is our live stream. I think everybody here so far has been here before. So, good morning, Eric and Chris. Hopefully, the weekend is treating you well. So, give people a few minutes to trickle in. Maybe really get into stuff about 5 after and see what we can do today. And there we go. Yeah. So, good morning, Carl. I'm assuming, Carl, you're the guy that frequents our local WordPress meetup. Nice to have you here this morning. If I've got the wrong Carl, let me know, please. This has been a week of a lot of live streams. I was on a live stream last night around 11 p.m. Pitching my business for the chance to win $99. I did not win last night, but I like doing the weekly pitch competitions just to keep the idea out there and to interact with some other people, because with the current circumstances in the world, I don't see near as many people as I used to. So, all right, I've got the right Carl. All right. Well, at least you're not the Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, if anybody's familiar with that cartoon, anime, whatever you want to call it. I think that was on Adult Swim or something a few years back. So I'll throw this up just for laughs. Let's see. Share screen. This is Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He's don't even ask me to try to pronounce that last name. Miller is much easier. Oh my. So yeah. All right. Project for the weekend. Trying to download and remove all photos from Google. What a pain. Yeah. Because they're phasing out the Google Photos. Is that just for the free version, or are they phasing the whole thing out completely? I remember seeing something like that, and yeah, I didn't react to it right away, but that's probably something I should be looking at as well. But I know I pay for Google Drive, and so I think I've got photos storage with that yearly payment. Good morning, Catherine. Welcome. We'll see if David joins the fun. And let's see. They make it difficult to remove the photos, but easy to pay for more storage. That sounds like Google. They have long since abandoned their do no evil mantra that they had early on. And now you'd swear that they were headed by Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movie. So let me get one more tab open in my browser and get started with our discussion today and see where this takes us and what questions people might have. All right. Good morning, Carlos. Welcome. All right. So again, welcome to the live stream. It's about 7 after. We're kicking things off. I normally wait a few minutes to let people trickle in and get some of the chat going and get let people have a chance to introduce themselves and things of that nature. So today I really had a couple of topics that I wanted to bring up. The first topic is revolving around OpenMediaVault, which I have covered in some full-length videos, some multi-part videos on the channel before. For anybody not familiar, it's an open source network attached storage system built on top of Debian Linux. The guy that the main developer behind this is his name is Volker. And he was one of the main developers of FreeNAS for a lot of years. And somewhere along the line, he got disillusioned by FreeBSD and the time it was taking to add features to it, which was, in his opinion at the time, slowing down pushing FreeNAS forward. And so he decided that he wanted to rebase his network attached storage system on Linux. And I had been a FreeNAS fan back in the 0.5 to 0.7 days. And, you know, I liked it because it was low resource requirements, and you know, you could take an old PC and slap a couple of hard drives in there. You could run the system itself off from a USB stick and put you into business. So I decided to do something a little bit different. I have done a clean install of OpenMediaVault on an old PC. And this was a little bit about returning to my roots and, you know, making use of the hardware that I had available. So this is extra hardware. This is an old machine that was sort of a donation. And I don't have the package handy right now, but I got a package of the connectors for motherboard connectors that will take your USB header the motherboard header and turn it into 2 USB ports that you can use inside the PC case. And I thought, I haven't tried this in a while, so I got those. I got one installed on an older PC and put a 32 gig USB stick on it. And then I installed OpenMediaVault on that. And it actually went pretty decent. Now, I will say, since this is an older machine, and you're probably going to laugh when you see what it actually is, but it did install. The install took a while longer than it normally does when going to a spinning hard drive or a solid state drive. But by doing it this way, my intention was to be able to use the entirety of the hard drive on that system, which, again, it's an old machine, so it's not a large hard drive, but use the entirety of that for storage. And so far, so good. It's working. I have... Now let's just bring my screen up. I have basically just done the install and brought it up to the latest version of OpenMediaVault 5.6.4, which that was released on the 11th of April of this earlier this month. And so, the latest ISO image available for OpenMediaVault is still 5.5.11. And as I mentioned before, 6.0 is coming sometime later this year. They've talked about this. They've had it in the blog with screenshots and different things. And it's going to be a visual overhaul as well as changing some things behind the scene as far as making a push towards Better FS or Butter FS or B-Tree FS, however you want to pronounce that. And so there are going to be some pretty decent changes to this next version. But I wanted to experiment on this particular machine, and it is, yes, don't laugh too hard. It is an old Celeron E1400 at 2 gigahertz. It's just a little dual core machine that isn't really up to running a desktop version of Windows or really Linux anymore. But for something that I'm just going to run headless and maybe put an additional hard drive or two in the case, at some point it will work for what I'm going to use it for. So yeah, the at this point, my biggest plan for this particular install of OpenMediaVault is to use it more as a dedicated rsync server, and use that to build some additional videos from. Let's see. Let's see if we've got questions at this point. Everybody's being nice and friendly to each other in the chat. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. So Catherine, you said that you used a Raspberry Pi 4 8 gig for 2 months while waiting on parts to repair your living room PC. Yeah, those Raspberry Pis are getting to the point where you can do exactly that. Carlos asks, does OpenMediaVault support virtualization? That is a good question. Under plugins, right here, it seems like they had added support maybe for running Docker, but that might be an additional package that needs to be installed from elsewhere. So the short answer is I'm not 100% sure because I don't tend to run virtualization on my network attached storage boxes. That's why I've got Proxmox VE running on a server. But it seems like I read somewhere that there was a Docker hook for OpenMediaVault. And maybe that's just, since it's built on Debian, maybe that's just as much as going to the command line and installing Docker and Portainer or something of that nature and running with it. Good morning, David. Let's see. I have 4 PCs similar to that on the shelves. Also not sure what to do with them. Lots of power requirements. Yes. So again, this was just a matter of scratching an itch and playing around with something. I don't know as though I'm going to keep this machine running on the long term. Probably not. I'll probably use it to record some videos and then move on because, you know, it doesn't really matter what spec the machine is for recording videos against it. Yeah, it was here and it was available, so I thought I'd play. And it has a large enough case that I was able to put a full-size USB stick on the internal header. Yes, Chris, OpenMediaVault is a NAS OS built on top of Debian Linux. All right. Yes, it does support iSCSI. So, well, I thought it supported iSCSI. That might be, again, an additional install here. Yeah. So let's see. Technically, one could install QEMU plus KVM and Cockpit, correct? Yes. Assuming one would be interested to have a NAS and virtualization on the same host, yes. Yeah. So, all right. And Carl, would it be worth using OpenMediaVault as a front end to a NAS? So, yeah, what you're seeing on the screen is OpenMediaVault. So we'll jump to the dashboard view. This is This is just their main view, showing the services that it supports out of the box and your system information. And there are, of course, different things along the side that you can do with it. Now, the interesting thing is they are getting ready to do the overhaul for OpenMediaVault 6. So this is going to be the new dashboard that will be coming in the version released later this year. I've been using OpenMediaVault on and off for many years at this point for different projects, and normally I will just install this as a virtual machine for a lot of my videos. But you know, like I said, I thought I would have a stab at this machine that I had sitting around, and you know, just see what we could do with it. So Chris, no, you do not have to run it on a flash drive. A dedicated hard drive or SSD is ideal. However, so there is a plugin. So your core of the OS is going to be pretty small. I think the ISO image is only around 500 megabytes, if I remember correctly. I'm going to tell you here real quick, like, okay, 608 megabytes for the ISO installer. So normally how I would set this up is I would install the OS on a dedicated drive, add my additional storage drives, and do the configuration. I just happened to run this particular install off a flash drive, just to illustrate to people that, you know, hey, if you're getting started in a sort of home lab environment, you can still do this. You probably don't want to do it long term. Or if you're going to, then install the OS to a mirrored pair of flash drives, just for some redundancy. And then add your storage drives after that. This particular machine is basically going to be an rsync server, and I'm just going to use it for two things. One, building videos for the channel, going into a little bit more detail on rsync, and two, I'm going to use it to copy my video files off my main machine and onto the NAS. So that's kind of what I've got planned for it at the moment. Yeah, so all right. Yes, Carlos, the new web interface does have some Pi-hole vibes. So that's not a bad thing, though. I do like the clean interface of Pi-hole, and I think it'll be a step forward for OpenMediaVault to move to something similar. So, all right. So yeah, anyways, like I said, I didn't do any real configuration other than running updates last night on this. So unless the developer has released another update today, I should be free and clear of updates at this point, and can just push forward with recording my videos and talking about that. Catherine, that is a wonderful question. I have been wondering that myself. I have not seen any indication so far that there is going to be a dark mode for at least the initial version of 6.0. I think all of the screenshots that have been posted up to now, and it's going to take me a while to find the next one. I think all the screenshots that have been posted up to now are not showing a dark mode, and I agree there should be. And it's 2021. There's not really an excuse for not having a dark mode. There's another little video that he posted. But yeah, I don't think there is. At least there hasn't been mention of it at this point. And I would very much like to see a dark mode available, just to make it a little more modern feeling. And a lot of people expect that functionality and option to be available. So anyways, that's where I'm at with OpenMediaVault in a nutshell. Oh yeah, I suppose I should mention the only other change I made as far as configuration of the system last night was that I disabled the auto log out for this particular machine. So let's see. Random question from Carlos. When 6.0, version 6.0, is it going to be based on Debian 11 after the Debian 11 release, or is it just the web UI change? That is a great question, Carlos. I do not know with any certainty, because there are no daily or beta versions of OMV6 available at this point. I would hope that it would be rebased on Debian 11, but that's one of the downsides of a small or single developer team for a project like this is, it's just, you don't always get those details being released. So I have yet to see any real indication of whether it's going to be based on Debian 11. I will go out on a limb here and say that a lot of projects that build on top of Debian that I've seen over the years, they tend to lag behind the very current version for a period of time before they upgrade. Now, with a 6.0 version, being a major release number, I would hope that Volker takes a chance and does base it on Debian 11. That would be wonderful. But I can't really say. I'm not going to hold my breath on it at this point. But it would be very nice if it did happen that way. All right. Any other questions at the moment from anybody on OpenMediaVault? I will try to answer those and, see where we go with this. So I'm not going to do a full, start to finish type of series of videos on OpenMediaVault again until after 6.0 is released. The videos that I'll be working on with this particular machine are just going to focus around the rsync functionality. And that's going to be about it, since it's a low spec machine. That is really all I want to be able to get out of this. And it's a short-term project for this. So this is more about me doing some cleanup and consolidation of my video files, and using rsync, I can easily and fairly quickly do that. And then, get them consolidated and organized onto other machines for longer term storage and for a little more permanent backup. So all right. So I'm going to throw a question out. This one is aimed at David. I was just curious if you've looked at your statistics for your YouTube channel for the week. Did you see a spike on Thursday as far as revenue levels? Just kind of throwing this out there because it was quite a dramatic increase for me that I'm writing it off as an anomaly at this point, but I was thankful to see it. So just wanted to throw that out there, and see if other creators are seeing something similar for that particular day. I'm not sure if that just corresponded with my 2-hour live stream I did on Thursday, or if it was something else. The revenue was not for the live stream. It was from a video that I released in 2019 or 2020, which I don't know. It just I was trying to wrap my head around it, and I thought I'd just throw that out there and see if other people have seen the same or similar thing for that particular day. Excuse me. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Oh, that's better. Yeah, I got it in my head that I was going to make pancakes for breakfast this morning, so now my mouth is a little dry after having breakfast before the stream. Good morning, Jacob. You're a little late, but come on in, join the party. We've pretty much finished the discussion on OpenMediaVault. But hey, that's the great thing about YouTube. You can always go back and watch it later. So, let's see. Overall, the numbers for the last 28 days have been low. I get spikes a day as I release a new video most of the time. Yeah, I've noticed a similar thing. And it's normally for the pre-recorded videos that I get the big spike for. I've never seen a spike that big on a day that I've released or done a live stream. So I was just trying to get some sort of baseline understanding of why it might be. Interesting how the revenue spike was from a 2019 video. Yeah, that left me scratching my head for sure, Carlos. Especially considering that you know, I wasn't monetized until March of 2020. So you know, it was just kind of crazy. So Sunday the 4th was a period high for me when I released the overnight Micro Center video. I believe it. That was a good video. Let's see, what video was it? Well, let me take that off screen for a moment. I don't necessarily want to display my whole YouTube dashboard to everybody, but since you asked, Carl, I will find the video and I will throw in a link. I will throw in a link. So analytics. Top videos this period. Pretty sure it was this one. Let me double check here. So see the last 7 days. And that was not the video. Okay. So okay, that's what I want. Once this loads up, so looks like it was one of my Proxmox videos. And yes, it was Intro to Proxmox VE. Let's see. Let's see. Intro to Proxmox VE Part 6. Install container from template. I guess that was a 2020 video. Let's see here. Maybe I can get a link here and drop that in the chat. There we go. There we go. All right. So let me come back up here. I'm all for that. If everybody wants to watch it under a different profile, hey, I appreciate the effort. It's a 10.5-minute video. From Jacob, I'm okay with that. OMV is a decent setup. I've got about 50 terabytes of TV and movies on TrueNAS. Unfortunately, I've got way too much data to want to try to migrate. So TrueNAS, I find interesting. I've been watching the development of TrueNAS Scale, which is actually going to be built on Linux. And the reason I'm interested in that is as an alternative for Proxmox VE. So my understanding is that as well as having NAS capabilities, it's going to have all of that virtualization, all the virtualization pieces, much like TrueNAS, or excuse me, much like Proxmox, built in and in a nice looking interface. So that is going to be something I will be watching. I'm expecting it probably second half of this year to actually come out of beta, but that all remains to be seen. I've not checked on that project in a few weeks. Let's see. I've shown my full period analytics within videos of mine more than once when the topic went in that direction. So, I think I remember seeing you do that before. Maybe I can, maybe I'll throw that up on the screen. So this is my pretty good sized jump here. My revenue isn't that great, but when I see a jump of like 3 times or more of what I normally see on a daily basis, I take notice. So, but yeah, that's that, I guess. Chris says, never been to a micro center. No, there's one in Dallas, but I don't buy much PC related items. That's fair. So, Okay. I lost one here. Actually, Chris, I'm surprised it wasn't a fog video as well, in all honesty. Um, you know, the fog videos still amaze me. I still have people watching the very first fog video I did back in 2017 or 2018. And that was originally done as a live stream, and people still are going back to reference it, even though that's on at this point in time, very old version of fog. So, that would have been before investigating the spike. That would have been my guess, is that it would have been a fog video, but that's the YouTube algorithm. It keeps you guessing. Let's see. I once saw a young woman building her first PC with her hubby in the wings, referred to Micro Center as Geek Heaven. She might be right. Yeah, I always referred to Fry's as Geek Mecca. But Geek Heaven is a fair assessment. Pinch, I'll go to Altex, but the prices are not the best. Okay, let's see. Fog videos are top notch. Thank you, Jacob. I've literally have Monday scheduled to rebuild my fog deployment based on those videos. Well, thank you. It still amazes me the number of questions I get related to fog. And I'll be completely honest, some of them I can't answer, and I've had to kindly nudge people towards the fog forums to get some of the more in-depth answers. I love fog, don't get me wrong, but there are some things that I have just not done with it because it's outside of my use case, that any use case that I've ever had for fog. So, I am still amazed by the fog videos and the following they've got over the years. And, I'll keep on making them as long as people are watching them, and as long as development on fog continues. My current fog videos are for version 1.5.7. The current version of fog is 1.5.9. Usually I wait a few more point releases before doing a new set of videos. However, since the 159 was released in, I think, October of 2020, and here it is, the middle of April of 21, September of 2020. Here it is, the middle of April of 2021, and we haven't had another update. So I have been considering going back and building a new series on Fog 159. But I'm not sure that there is really that much that has changed to warrant the time and effort to do so. But thank you for the compliment, Jacob. I appreciate that. As much as everybody else, I like having compliments once in a while. Okay, let's see. Carlos, I was kind of under the same impression, but I've seen an increasing number of people show it. That's why I've always been hesitant to do so. I think if I showed in more detail than what I did, or for a longer period of time, that might get me into potential trouble. But in all honesty, my Sunday live streams don't really get a whole lot of traction out of the people that watch them live. So in this case, I'm not terribly worried about it. But I've seen other YouTubers break down their revenue in much more detail than what I showed just a few minutes ago. Spikes in my views, watch time, and subscriptions and revenue are always interesting to me. I agree, David. I track that stuff semi-religiously. Excuse me. So, for instance, my Sunday morning routine has become that of filling out spreadsheets. So I won't go into the revenue tab on this spreadsheet, but I go in and I record my views, and so I can track that week over week, just to have a record of what I'm doing. And I'll actually zoom in on this piece here. So the fog videos that I released in, the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, are both over 15,000 views. I've got this AOMEI partition assistant that's at almost 30,000 views. And I think that's the biggest single video that I've got on here. And then connecting Ubuntu using RDP is over 20,000. So, there are some videos, and I got an extra number in that. I am sure that's not 110,000. I think I fat fingered that one. That's probably 11,943. But again, even the 2018 Fog 1.5, 14,000. NAS for free, which is now Sigma NAS, 12,300. And that's from 2018. 2017 videos are kind of a wash. The biggest one that year was Turnkey Linux file server. So yeah, it's interesting to me, and I'm not really a numbers guy, so I rely heavily on the spreadsheets that I've put together. But my live streams do not perform near as well. Fog Project video got a pretty high number overall. The unplanned stream I did comparing Rescuezilla 2.0 to Redo Rescue 3.0 was over 1,000. And then this one I did a while back, Proxmox, Turnkey Linux, and more, over 1,500 views. And let's see, the Fog 1.4.2. So this was actually a pre-recorded video that I was at the time using some software that allowed me to, before YouTube had the capability built in. This allowed me to take a pre-recorded video and run it as if it were going to show up live. And the original Fog video was actually a live stream that I did, and then I uploaded it to YouTube. So, anyways, that's a little insight into the channel. I am still working on a series of Python scripts in my spare time. I know what's that. To allow me to pull this data down, sanitize it, and bring it into a spreadsheet through a CSV file, and save myself a whole lot of manual data entry. But they're not quite there yet, so my web scraping foo leaves a little bit to be desired at this point. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Off topic, but the Debian project leader has been announced. Last year, Jonathan Carter has been reelected. Very nice. Why don't you create a scroll down for your sheet? I've never really considered it. And that's something I'd have to look up how to do in LibreOffice Calc. I've not used a scroll down in anything. I tend to be more of a keyboard guy, so I'll just use the page up, page down keys to move around a lot. Let's see. I think some creators imply that it's YouTube. However, I think they are more worried about the comments they might get from people who think that they make a lot. Yeah. So far, I will go on record as saying YouTube is not a get rich quick scheme. There are people that have done it, but I will say that they either have sponsors or their content tends to be a lot more mainstream than focusing on geeky Linux and Unix and operating system stuff in general and software, what have you. So let's see. As Carlos, definitely go check out David's channel. I find it to be very complimentary to what I do. And while there is some overlap, David's got a lot more experience and definitely areas that I do not. So very much worth a look. And, you know, that goes for the rest of you as well. So And Jacob, awesome. I didn't know you made videos too. I gobble up tech videos like Cookie Monster eats a cookie. I did that with Spreadsheet early on, but got lazy. So I trust YouTube to be accurate now. Maybe a mistake. So the reason I started my spreadsheet when I did was that it let me see things without necessarily having to go directly to Google. I still view the Google analytics as the source of truth, but you know, because I know I'm a little bit prone to fat fingering numbers. So you know, my interest is in the different graphs and things that I can put together in a spreadsheet, and you know, to track other things that YouTube doesn't necessarily make easily available in their back end. Wish I had male model looks and some acting training. Oh my. You're way ahead of me on Linux. I was good at it 25 years ago, but let it go. Well, I'm sure, and I can say that I know I've learned things about Windows from you. I do manage a couple of Windows servers in my day job, but it's a small organization, and even there, we don't utilize it to its full potential. I would almost go out on a limb and make the case that what we've got is overkill for the size organization we are. And yeah, I mean, for what we are doing at the library, I could put in Zenshal Linux and have Samba Active Directory if we even wanted that, and you know, a few file shares and backups and things of that nature without the licensing that's involved with running actual Microsoft servers. Again, this was put in place before I arrived on the scene, so yeah. It would be nice if we could export the stats to Excel files. So, David, that's what I alluded to with my mention of web scraping and Python. So there are ways that you can pull that data using the API from YouTube. I just, like I said, I'm trying to get all the data accounted for that I normally pull down manually each week, so that when I'm ready to do the switch, it's a one-to-one or as close to a one-to-one match as I can get. But right now, I've worked with a few Python scripts to let me, you know, input the or copy into the script the channel ID, and it will pull down things like number of subscribers, and then you can do things on a per video level. So the big thing there is that you have to have the YouTube ID for every video, and then it's just running it through a for loop or a while loop, and just iterating through it and pulling down the data. You can spit it out to a CSV file and import it into Excel, and then run any additional formulas against it to get the other pieces that you'd like. All right. Question. Do you guys archive the videos you upload? Or do you delete the original file, and if you need to go back, just download the video uploaded to YouTube? So I have done both over the years. I don't have a copy of every single video as it sits edited and uploaded to YouTube. Some of the videos I've kept the source files. Some of the videos I've kept the edited file. In some cases I've kept both. But I have started to get a little bit pickier about what I keep. So mostly going forward, mostly it's going to be videos that have, some arbitrary number of views applied to it, or has made me X amount of dollars. The other ones, if I have a video that only got 30 views and then it kind of flatlined, I'm not going to feel bad about dumping that. And then if I need a copy, I'll download it from YouTube for any re-edits I may want to do in the future, or upscaling, or anything of that nature. All right. It's nice to have my Sigma NAS Active Directory server. Makes adding and subtracting new systems easy. So yes, it's my understanding, though, David, that you're using a mostly Windows-centric systems. I've got a more heterogeneous network. So I've got Linux, I've got Mac OS, I've got Windows. Active Directory was designed for Windows. Any other system that you can make work with Active Directory is more of I don't know what I want to call it. It was built on after the fact, and not necessarily something that Microsoft had intended and integrated deeply into the design. I like the idea of having DNS on the local network. I like the idea of having common users available on the network. And there are ways to accomplish all this without using Active Directory specifically. So, all right. So David says that he deletes most of the source video, but keeps any special files, JPEGs, notes, thumbnails, creating PowerPoints, and of course the final product. Some of my source files are 4 times larger than the final product in 4K. On the final videos, I do not trust 100% YouTube 100%. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not feeling terribly trusting of YouTube at all times these days myself. So my videos get mirrored over to Library or Odyssey, whichever you want to call it. But my understanding is that they're having some growing pains and governmental interference in their operations. So that's not really proving to be the best backup plan either. Yes, I am mostly Windows with a couple of others. So yeah, don't get me wrong. My comments weren't to criticize in any ways. I just if I were running a predominantly Windows network, I would absolutely be on the Active Directory bandwagon. But I find that I still on several machines, I do the distro hop. I do a lot of different things, and yeah, I just I've not gone down that route for a long-term implementation of an Active Directory type system on my home network. Now, I will say Zenchal 7.0 does look pretty nice, so I'm willing to give that a shot. Also, my understanding is that Ubuntu 21, I don't know if it's going to be in 21.04 or if it's going to be 22.04, but somewhere in the next 3 releases of Ubuntu, they are going to have, as part of the installer, a method for joining Active Directory. So once that's in place, I will reconsider the possibility of putting a Zenchal server up and keeping it around for a period of time. Let's see. 25 years ago, my home network was the reverse, mostly Unix variants such as Linux, BSD, SCO Linux, and a couple of Windows. I think you were a little ahead of me. I think 25 years ago, let's see, that would have been 1996. I didn't have a home network. Didn't have a home network at that point in time. Let's see, 25 years ago, have you been doing home networks all the way since the days of 10 megabit? Or did you get in on the 100 megabit bandwagon, David? Jacob, I'm mostly Linux, but I break every service I run out onto their own VMs for snapshotting. So there's a lot of extra Linux stuff that could be condensed down to 1 or 2 machines. I tend to do a lot of that myself, Jacob. And then my problem becomes I end up with so many VMs sitting around that I have to start making the call on what to start deleting or exporting as OVAs and archiving. Let's see, Carlos. Most of my day is spent working on a Windows only environment, job related, and the customers mostly run Windows. Yeah, so my day job consists of Windows, a little bit of Mac OS. My boss has a Mac that she brings to work with her. And so I think I've run into 1 or 2 people that have come in that have inquired about Linux. But, you know, it's a small town library, and so predominantly it's Windows, although I'll say that lately there has been an uptick in people running Chromebooks and more tablet related stuff, so iOS. And of course, supporting phones, iOS and Android both. So I still don't have an iOS device myself. I've been considering picking up a used iPad so that I could potentially make some videos for the library dealing with that. But I'm still here. I hit the wrong button. So yeah, mostly Windows, but it's good to know the others. At least have passable working knowledge of the others, and keep things moving that way. Started with ThinNet Cat 2. Wow. Yep, that predates my networking other than dial-up. So I was there before 10 meg. Well, that's fair. Let's see. Carlos, I've had the chance, though, of helping out a few customers, setting up SendMail and Postfix. Very nice. Token Ring was my first network headache. So I will admit I am old enough that I did see the when I was taking my first networking classes at the community college. They still had Token Ring. They had a lot of NetWare stuff, and so our intro to networking class was basically it started off going over hardware, and then it threw you into NetWare. And this was, running DOS systems and all that kind of fun stuff. So running that thin net through my house was a pain. I also had that at work at the time. Oh my. I like learning about OMV and others for home use, but I've also been debating getting a Synology box at home to handle file sharing, backup, and as a replacement for the current surveillance NVR. Yeah, so I've got 2 Synology boxes on my network. After I had been working with FreeNAS, the old versions of FreeNAS, the 0.x versions, I ended up buying a NAS by a company called Thecus, a 4-bay NAS, and that ran great for a few years, and then I don't know if we had a lightning storm or just what might have happened, and this was at a point when I did not have a UPS. But one day I just couldn't connect to it over the network anymore. So that's when I went over to Synology. I've also got a QNAP NAS. And part of the reason that I bought these was at the time I was playing with some inexpensive surveillance cameras. And the surveillance station feature of Synology is quite nice. And it works with a wide variety of camera manufacturers. So where they get you is depending on the model of the NAS you buy, you only get, in general, you only get 2 licenses, so you can have 2 cameras. And then after that, you have to pay a license per camera in order to be able to monitor it through surveillance station on the Synology. Unless that's changed since the last time I looked at that. I do not have those cameras anymore. I have been using Wise cameras for the last 3 years now, I guess. I had Token Ring at work in 1987, but it was gone by 90 for our development systems, ThinNet. Then that was gone by 95. Anyone else remember BNC and all the crappy crimpers you had to solder after just to get the connection stable? I've seen BNC connectors. I've not, other than in those early classes that I mentioned that we talked about NetWare, I have not used them in a real network that I managed. My home network followed right behind what I had at work. It's probably a fair assessment. Let's see. Jacob, yes, that ThinNet was BNC with terminators and T-junctions. Okay. I'm getting way behind on the chat. Pros and cons between Token Ring and Ethernet was a major topic in my grad school networking course in '88. I hate to admit, I worked with every version of Windows. Millennium was the worst. Vista was a close second to that. Also wrote code at work for Windows NT. Yep, I started working with Windows in 1990. Windows 3.0. Used Windows on and off, especially at the community college, up through 98, Windows 98. The first x86 PC that I had was a second or third hand machine that started running Windows 98. And that was the first machine that I dumped Windows on and installed Linux. And thus my love affair with Linux began, and here we are today. I think I was 8 or 9 soldering those darn ends, fixing all the recycled cable drops. Probably lost most of a summer learning that mess just to switch to cat cable like a year later. Okay, Chris, can you use the Synology surveillance application along with using the box for other functions? Yes, absolutely, you can. The surveillance station on the Synology, and let's see, maybe I can just bring this up. Now, granted, I don't have any cameras connected to it, but let's see if this wants to load. So yeah, I was the first Synology box I got. I used the surveillance station on it, and it's really just like another app on the Synology. So so do I even have this still installed, or did I remove it? You know what? I went and removed it. Because I don't have the cameras anymore. So, I mean, it's just a matter of going to their package center, which is their quote unquote app store. And just installing that on here. Surveillance station. And that'll take a minute to install, but I already have all the IP cams. Just think I can consolidate the functions all in a single box. Seems to be more convenient. Yes. I did find this very convenient when I had this running. And I think I only ever had 2 cameras hooked up to it at any given time. But they were just some inexpensive pan tilt zoom cameras from what's the company? The company's called Amcrest now, but it was something else before. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was called before. Or there was some management split, and the 2 companies kept making cameras built on the same chassis, or rebranding stuff from you know where. Anyways, is there a mobile device access to the surveillance software? I think there is. Just out of for the sake of argument, yes. At least on Android, there is an app called DS Cam, for Disk Station Cam, and that lets you view live streams and recordings from IP cameras set up on a Synology disk station. I have all Hikvision. Okay, I think Hikvision should be supported fairly well, Chris. So there are a bunch of Hikvision cameras listed here. I don't know if you've got your model numbers handy, but yeah. All right, Carlos. When you arrived at the library, did you see anything worrisome with the Windows PCs or network cabling? That's a great question, Carlos. So the library does not have a dedicated network room or anything of the nature. The switch, router, and access point controller are all sitting on a shelf. Thankfully, there is a UPS at least. So that I found a little troubling. Again, because of the space issue and budget, there wasn't a whole lot that could be done about that. There is a planned remodeling project for the library. And if that goes through, I will have a small network closet, basically. But at least it'll be locked and stuff will be rack mounted properly. As far as cabling, yes, there were some things that were a little on the worrisome side. The ends were not crimped down properly. So there was a little bit of bare cable between the sheathed part of the cable and the end. I have gone through and replaced all of those that I've found up to this point. The next thing I noticed is that cabling run in the ceiling. There's a drop ceiling, and cables run in the ceiling were not done in the best fashion. But at this point, everything works. I know there's a remodeling project, and when that remodeling project happens, all this stuff is going to get ripped out, and it will be done over anyways. So I'm kind of in that maintenance mode at this point, and just kind of addressing problems as they come up. Yeah. Most of the troubling things I have addressed at this point. There are a few things on my list that I would like to do something differently. And it's one of those things where, hold that thought. Excuse me. It's one of those things that funding for libraries, you get an infusion of cash at the beginning of the fiscal year, which is between July and October, when you get funding from different governmental entities. So I've got a period in which I can really spend, and then I've got you know some downtime until the next cash infusion to replenish the budget. And I've always got to keep some reserves in case something breaks in an emergency sort of scenario, and be able to address that without hurting other coffers, I guess, is the best way to put that. Some Swan cameras are, which are rebranded Hikvision too. All right, that's good to know. I don't know the model number right off, but I've worked with March systems, and most Hikvision are all the same in compatibility. All right, so I guess at this point, then the Synology website, if or when you get ready to make the switch and add a Synology box or a rack system, you should be ready to go. They've got a pretty good reference for their supported cameras and things. That's one thing that did impress me about Synology. So I hope that's helpful. All right. Well, this has definitely been entertaining. I never did really get to talk about Pi-hole. So I'll keep this short, and I will probably turn what I was going to say and go into a separate video. But Pi-hole has, I believe, earlier this week released a new version. See their blog. So yes, this was on the 14th. So on Wednesday, they released Pi-hole FTL version 5.8, web version 5.5, and core version 5.3. And of course, they say to go through the changelog before updating your Pi-hole. And look at that beautiful dark mode. Really can't complain about that. They've added all kinds of stuff, more automated IP blocking. And yeah, I have loved Pi-hole for a number of years. I have just to get the experience and play around with the project a little bit. I do have a DNS mask DNS server running on my network currently, not being connected to the whole of the network, but for a couple of projects that I was working on, I've connected various virtual machines to it and populated it with records for those virtual machines. The nice thing about Pi-hole is that they actually forked DNS mask and they've renamed it, or their version of it is faster than light, or FTL DNS. And they have done a number of changes on it. So there was a while after they did the fork that it wasn't exposed in the GUI and the web GUI of Pi-hole. It is now, however, exposed. And they actually have a local DNS section on their menu, on the left side menu in their web interface. So, if you're wanting to get a lot of bang for your buck, that would be $0 other than spinning up a VM or running this directly on a Raspberry Pi. Pi-hole is a great way to go. You can get rid of a lot of the ads, and move your network forward. And this would be a nice little thing that if you've got parents or siblings or nieces or nephews that may not share your enthusiasm for all things technology, you could easily integrate this on their network, and be able to help manage that for them and help them cut down on the number of ads they're serving to their various machines, and have a little bit of protection if their ISP DNS server goes down. Because I don't know about everybody else, but about 90% of the time when there are issues with my ISP, it's DNS related. And since I don't use the ISP DNS servers, people in the community will complain on the community page on Facebook and from their phones, and I'll be sitting at my computer doing things and never notice that there was an alleged outage. I'd imagine that many of you fall into that same category of people that do not run the standard ISP served DNS servers. So and Chris says, dedicate next week to Pi-hole. I would love to learn about it and see it set up. I can do that. In fact, I'll change the thumbnail for next week's live stream this afternoon, and I will start promoting that a little bit and be prepared to go through some of this stuff and talk through some of the highlights of the system and hopefully do it some justice. And then Jacob, if you're back next week and if you want to add anything about Pi-hole when we do the discussion, the installation and the discussion about it, I'd be more than happy to have you or anybody else that's used it chime in, just so that I don't inadvertently miss something when I go through it. So you're all absolutely invited back next week, and the more the merrier on participating on that. Pi-hole is a great project. You can also import the block list URLs directly into pfSense. Yes. I think their sort of version of or equivalent functionality to Pi-hole, I think that's called Ad Blocker NG in pfSense. PF Blocker NG. I stand corrected. I should check these things before I open my big mouth. From Carlos, I had Pi-hole running on a Raspberry Pi for almost a year before the 5.x release. On a Raspberry Pi 3B. I believe that's what I had it running on initially. After that, I started running it in a VM, and that's usually what I do now. Nobody should be using ISP DNS at this point. Amen, hallelujah, spread the word from shout it from the rooftops. You're absolutely correct. Nobody in their right mind should be using ISP DNS at this point. I have this conversation with so many people, and it's frustrating, I guess, to me, how many people still let the cable company come in and drop their gateway device in the house, and once they verify that there's signal, that's about all the configuration they do. So not only should people not be using ISP DNS, if at all possible, don't use ISP equipment. And at the very least, make sure you go in and change the administrator password for the ISP supplied gateway device, and change the SSID for the Wi-Fi network. It's amazing to me. I have an app on my phone called Wiggle Wi-Fi. And I'll throw that in the chat. And basically what you can do is it's sort of a war driving application. It just scans for Wi-Fi networks. And you know, I've driven around, and it's amazing how many people still have Wi-Fi networks that start with ATT, so you can tell who their ISP is. And there are other ones that you know, you could tell that they're Comcast or WOW or whatever else might be the case. I try to choose unique and fun names for mine. I actually I got an old TP-Link Wireless N router. It was probably a $40 router when I bought it years ago. But the reason I bought this was basically to play with DDWRT. And so when I got that out of my box O stuff, or one of my boxes O stuff, I called the SS on that old dirty bastard, after the wrapper. But you know, I try to be unique about my SSIDs. And part of the reason I called it that was that there's a neighbor somewhere close to me that has an SSID called Bitchpad. So I figure if somebody was going to have an SSID called Bitchpad, I would have one called Old Dirty Bastard. So I try to have a little fun with things. You're right, David. Everybody likes it easy, and ignorance is bliss. Not sure that gives them that much plausible deniability for anything that might go wrong, but ignorance is bliss, right? Let's see. Customers who have VoIP go through an onboarding process. The onboarding is basically changing the DNS and recommending a new router and bridging the ISP router modem combo. That doesn't surprise me a lot, since, you know, VoIP always runs better when you have QoS enabled, and a few other things tweaked a little bit. You know, I don't know if anybody else watches Willie Howe, or Tom at Lawrence Systems, or Chris at Crosstalk Solutions. Each of those guys have talked about these Protectly devices. And you can get these with and install OpenSense or PFSense on them. And these things run like little tanks. One of Willie's videos, he actually ran over it with his car and then took it inside and plugged it in, and it fired right up. So they're, metal cased. The top of it is a giant heat sink. And Willie even went so far as to get some colored paint markers and paint the fins of the heat sink in the TIA 568B wiring standard. So kind of a neat idea. Not horribly expensive for the power you're getting in one of these, but more than a lot of home users pay for a router. So let's see. Love the SSID. I have a bunch of virtual SSIDs with funny names that are black holed. My real SSID is hidden. So yeah. I've done much the same, Jacob. I don't have mine broadcast. And I've got it locked down. I do have a guest network SSID that actually is using, since I'm using Unify for my wireless, I'm using their captive portal. So it shows up as a guest network, and then they still have to get a password from me in order to connect. And I've actually got that network limited down as far as bandwidth. So like if my nieces come over, they can't just hog all the bandwidth playing stupid games and other craziness that these kids do these days. All right. Yeah, we always set up QoS. Our top recommended routers run DDWRT and Buffalo. We also help setting up Zyzel and SonicWall. One thing for sure, everyone hates WatchGuard. So yeah, this TP-Link router that I got out and reinstalled DDWRT on it, or upgraded it to the newest version available for that router model. I bought that thing back in 2018, specific for a project with DDWRT. And I just kept it around, and the first routers that I had with that I bought specific for the purpose of running DDWRT were Buffalo routers, and those I bought. It was either 2004 or 2005, but it was fall when I was at school, and my professor didn't even know about DDWRT at that point in time, and I did a presentation for the student group for ACM, Association for Computing Machinery. I did a presentation on turning a $50 router into a $500 router by flashing an aftermarket firmware and adding capabilities that were not there in the out-of-the-box firmware. So thank you for bringing up Buffalo, Carlos. That does bring back memories. My SSID does not broadcast, and the password is in excess of 36 characters. Calculated to take 1.4 trillion years to crack. Yes. So I've got a password of a similar length. Might not be quite 36 characters, but it would take more than the time that I will be remaining on this earth to crack it. And I've gone for that. I've gone from a regular password to a passphrase, just to make it easier for me to remember. And it's worked out pretty well for me. So, all right. Well, we are closing in on 1 o'clock Eastern time. Are there any other final questions or comments? We've got a little longer than I had anticipated today. Usually my Sunday live streams are only about 90 minutes, but looks like we're going to get a full 2 hours out of this again, like we did Thursday night. I would ask for anybody that hasn't done so already, if you could take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not currently. That would be wonderful. It helps the YouTube algorithm, and it helps me make a few pennies worth of revenue to help me keep buying new equipment or newer equipment and keep things moving forward here. I'm glad you had fun, Carl. Sometimes I do more with demos. Sometimes I just get things going and we get on a topic and we just run with it. Today was one of those days. Next week, I am going to plan to have a full demo. We'll install Pi-hole on a VM and run through some configuration and attach some other VMs to it, so that their DNS goes through it. The ads are blocked, and maybe we'll run a little bit of Wireshark to do a before and after, and do a few comparisons on the traffic flowing through Wireshark. So all those should be fun and interesting things. Again, bringing back the demo piece of the live stream would be nice. It's been a little while, so I'm kind of itching to get back to that. But at the same time, these are a lot of fun where I can just hang out and throw some things up in the web browser and just chat. So thank you, all of you, for coming out. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope to see you again next Sunday, same time, same place, and I will be updating the thumbnail this afternoon for the next live stream, which will be next Sunday, and that actually is we'll have next Sunday, and then we'll have a Thursday night live stream after that, and that will be it for the month of April. So yeah, and please keep your eyes out. David is getting into live streaming as well, so get on his channel and subscribe, and make sure you hit his bell for notifications as well, so you can see when and get reminders for when his live stream is going to happen. And you'll see me in the chat on his live stream. So unless I'm sick or incapacitated in some other way, I will be there. And on that note, we have hit the 2-hour mark. Everybody enjoy your Sunday afternoon, and stay safe out there. Thank you once again for coming, and I will see you in the next live stream. Have a great day.